Ciao, jewelry makers. I'm Joey Balistreri, and today I wanted to share with you a really fun project that is on my mat that we could actually do this from season to season. So I did last year these fluted pumpkin beads, the check glass. I did a pendant with them and added in some check glass leaves and some crystals and created some curly cues with my wire and some spirals and just made this sweet little pendant. And if you've seen my other videos, you know that I keep a few plain chains in different metal finishes in my jewelry wardrobe. And then as the seasons change and as I design pendants and things, I like to do them interchangeably and create a little bit larger bail on them so that I can change them out and I don't have an excess of necklaces hanging in my jewelry wardrobe. So I had so much fun with the wire wrapping and the free-form curly cues on this project that I went on to create a little pair of earrings for myself. And so on these earrings, I do like to mirror my earrings so that they hang in the ears opposite. And it's a little bit difficult because this is a very free form. I'll show you what I did, but we try to find sort of the natural path of the wire. And when you're doing earrings, you want to try to get your curly cues to land in the same place. But it is really fun and a lot more simple than it appears when you have the finished pieces. So let me show you some of the other ones that I have done here. These are check glass fruit beads. And so I have here a strawberry that I did. I have a little orange that I did. Oops, I dropped him. And I have this lovely lemon that I have created. And so this little strand of check glass beads I picked up at one of our craft stores. It is check glass. It's by Bead Treasures, and it came with various finishes of strawberries, bananas, limes, oranges, lemons, pretty much everything. It's colorful, beautiful, and I had already made a couple of pieces with it. And so I did a few of my samples here, and then I also at the craft store found these lampwork grapes, and they came too like this, where they were ready made with a head pin and just a simple loop at the top and a jump ring. But I did not think that was nearly pretty enough for a lampwork bead, so I cut off the head pin and took away that jump ring, and I used some 20 gauge wire and made a spiral. So I created my own head pin and ran that up through this grape, and then I added one of my check glass leaves and a little gold bead cap that has the embossing of a leaf on it and some curly cues. And so now from here, this could be a charm, it could be a pendant. I could make the other one and create a pair of earrings, but just so much prettier than simply a head pin and a jump ring. So we're going to do some of these together, but I just wanted to give you another option. In case you do not have any of the check glass fluted sort of pumpkin beads, or you don't have any check glass fruit beads or lampwork beads, you can go into your stash and find beads that are pear-shaped, works really well, or round and in the colors of pineapple or orange or lemons, and you can create your own fruit charms and pendants from those beads. So I had these in my supplies. I do not remember where I got them, but for me, they looked like fruit, like the shape of a pear. So I added one of those embossed leaf bead caps and some wire and a check glass leaf, and if I do a second one, I can have earrings. As I was doing my samples for this video, I was thinking what an adorable charm bracelet or cha-cha bracelet or even cha-cha necklace with all of these fruit dangles, and how pretty that would be for the summer. So right now, I think we all have fall on the brain. And in Florida, we do, because we're getting a little bit of nice, cool weather after so much of a hot summer. And so this is where I started last year, but I started to think these techniques could be used for any bead, really, at the fruit beads or beads that you want to make them look like fruit. So let me clear some of this away, and I will show you the two that we are going to do together. And let me bring in my little dish and I'll talk to you about all the things. So on the two that I'm going to do, I have a couple of scraps of 24 gauge round German style wire, and I did get a head pin out of my stash, just a simple head pin. So let's start with this. This is a pumpkin bead that I've had in my supplies for probably 5 or 6 years, and it's a pink pumpkin in my eyes. So what I'm going to do is put this head pin through this pumpkin bead, and then it just looks very plain to me. So I decided to go into my bead caps and look for things that appeared leafy to me, if that's a word. This looked like it could easily be leaves. And I do like to stack my bead caps. I love the dimension that it adds to a piece, even if they cover each other up. And so this is another one of the bead caps that I use, but they come like this. They are very domed and they are made to go over a round bead. But I wanted it to fit really snugly on top. So I just took my nylon jaw pliers and just very gently went around, and I didn't completely flatten it. And it's okay if you do get it flatter than you want, because once this is wire wrapped, we will have the opportunity to tweak it a little bit and make these petals land the way we want. So I can just take my nylon jaw pliers. I'm just maneuvering this bead cap. I want to turn the ends of the petals or leaves downward so I don't have anything sharp on top of my bead. But as I said, after this is all connected, we'll have an opportunity to adjust. So I just like to play around with stacking bead caps, and I also like the mixed metals, especially on this. I just thought it looked very outdoorsy and like what you would see in a pumpkin patch. Now on these, I did add in some little crystals. So you can go into your supplies and add in some crystals if you want to add more to this. But on this one, it's such a nice large size. I think I'm going to leave it just as it is and then add in my leaves. So from here, we're going to just do a simple wire wrapped loop, just the way we always do. And I guess I will go down a little bit further on my barrel because I am doing these for you for this video and I don't have a plan of making it into a pendant, or so I'll just give it a little bit of an oversized loop, and then after we're finished, I'll decide where it's going to go. The head pins that I am using for this are extremely thick gauge wire, and they are it will be good for the next step, because I know you're probably watching this saying, how is she going to put a leaf on, and how is she going to get the curly Q pumpkins? And I will show you. I like when I'm doing these fruit beads, I do like to tighten my loop and my wire down, because when I add my leaves in, I do want a front and a back. I want the leaves to be facing forward and standing up in the position that I place them in. So this is a very difficult head pin to wrap, but I'm just being patient and going around and tucking it. I have one more tuck to make and I got it. And so that is done. So now I do want to take my nylon jaw pliers. I don't know if you can see, but how that's sticking up. That would eventually like put a snag in a sweater or scratch your arm. And we never want that with any of the jewelry that we make. So I'm going to go in with my nylon jaw pliers and just give a little bit of pressure on any of these leaves that are overhanging. And there we have it. So now let me just set this aside and we'll do the lime next. So now I am just going to take this little piece of 24 gauge gold German style wire, and I'm going to come to my wire wrapped loop that I did. And this will be just tricky to get it started. But once you get it started, you'll see it's a really nice method of adding in some curly cues. And honestly, on this, I probably could have gone up to even a 20 gauge wire because my head pin is so nice and thick, and my bead that I'm starting with is a little bit oversized from the other beads that I had. But for demonstration purposes, I'll do this 24 gauge wire, and you'll see how easy it is to maneuver and to wrap. So once you get your wire around the wraps that you already made, this is where I have gone into my supplies, and I have a whole selection of leaf beads. I actually have a whole drawer of leaf beads. It's one of the things that I tend to collect a lot. Every time I place an order or when I go to a bead show, I tend to constantly add leaf beads as well as flower beads to my stash, because when I'm doing a project like this, you never know what color, what size, and even they are drilled different ways. So before I add it into this project, let me just show you some of the possibilities. This is a check glass leaf. Let me take this little piece of wire just to show you. This is a check glass leaf, and it is drilled from top to bottom like that. These are the leaves that we had from our recent bargain bead box subscription, also drilled top to bottom. I have some metal leaves here that the hole goes side to side, and these are the top to bottom, and you'll notice I have quite a few of these that are the hole is going vertically, because those are the easiest to add in. And then I have some glass ones with a gold wash that also go side to side. And then these are the man-made hematite leaf beads that we had in another recent bargain bead box monthly subscription. So before I add in, I'll just show you some of the possibilities. So this is one where the drill hole goes from top to bottom vertically. And so how that is attached is by adding in the wire, stringing on the leaf bead, and if you'll notice, I just bent that wire to the back side of the leaf and then gave it some wraps around my wire wrapped loop. And it is nice and secure, and it stays facing forward, and you see the beauty of the leaf, and it's just a beautiful way to add in a leaf. And because I have the extra wire, I was able to get the little grapevine curly cues on my grapes. And so on this one, this is one of the ones that is drilled sideways. And so those are a little bit more difficult to get them to stand up, but with this 24 gauge wire, it's not so bad. You have to play around with it to get them to stay where you wanted them. And then this is one of the gold ones on my little orange that's going from side to side. And let's see, I used one of those man-made hematites on the strawberry that's going up and down. And I know this is quite small, but if you can see, instead of bending the wire to the back like I did on the grapes, I just made a little curly cue to tighten it down because it's a strawberry. So it was very sort of strawberry patch to me. So those are just some of the fun options you can do with different leaves. So now for my pumpkin bead, I need to select a leaf. And this is where, you sort of care about the scale of it. You want it to match the bead. So the pink and orange could be pretty. This is one of my favorites, this sort of frosted check glass leaf. I really like that. So I think I'm going to use that. Let me set my leaves out of the way and my extra piece of wire. And so when you add your leaf in, you can see my wire is still moving. It's not totally secured down, but I'm going to make this the front of my pumpkin, and I'm going to add my leaf on this side right here. And I'm just this 24 gauge wire allows me to have the freedom to move it. So I just gave that a slight bend just to face it where I wanted it. And I'm just going to hold on to it as best that I can. If you want to try with your pliers, you can, but I'm just going to give that a bend. So if you can see what I did, just gave it's on the leaf, and I just bent it all the way back. And now I'm going to hold on to it and just, to the best of my ability, get that wire wrapped around at least once, but I sort of go by how it feels. When it feels that it's nice and tight, and it already feels like it's tightened down. And I generally don't cut so much because I will make a little curly cue. And then I still am not happy with the way this, I don't know if it's showing in the camera, but it's moving just a tiny bit and I'm not happy with that. So I'm going to come in and put a little kink in that wire, and that is all I needed to do. Now, I tend to fuss with things a little bit, so I'm going to go to the back and just tie, even though this is going to be the back, I just want to tidy up that back of it and just make sure that it's tightened down. I'm really happy with that. That looks so cute. So now I generally keep my bail making pliers on hand for this. You can sort of do it with your round nose pliers, but this works a lot better. And even though this looks quite long, I usually will go ahead and spiral the entire length of the wire, just because if it's too long, I can always cut it off. But if it's too short, especially on a bead that's this large, this fluted sort of pink pumpkin bead is a little bit large. So I'm going to go ahead and give myself the entire length of my piece of wire, and then I will decide if I feel like it's too long. I can always remove some. So this is where you just have to get in. I do like my bent chain nose pliers because it helps me to get into places, but this is where you just have to go in and be the boss of the wire. Place things where you like them. I will oftentimes hold on to it and pull my curly cue out a little bit and then even change its direction. And so I don't want, this feels a little bit sharp to me. So I will come in and give that a little bit. Let me hold on to it and just give it a little tuck. Yep. Then when I run my finger over it, nothing is sharp or snagging. And oh, I dropped my bead. I got it. And then right here, I have this little bit of wire. So this is where you make your design decisions. If you want to wrap it around one more time or do another curly cue. And I don't know, I think I will wrap this one. I just literally decide piece by piece. And unless I'm making earrings where I need to match a second earring to it, I will generally just decide as I'm wrapping what the natural path of the wire is and how it looks, and if I think it needs an additional curly cue or an additional wrap. And so this is still moving a little bit, so I am just going to come in with my pliers, get a hold of it wherever I can, and try to get that tightened down. Just try to grab it. I got it. And so let me get everything facing forward again. And I could cut that wire, but I'm going to use it and go ahead and wrap it and tuck it in the back. And now my leaf is nice and secure. My little curly cue is on, and I have a little pink pumpkin bead. It's so sweet. And again, wouldn't that make a lovely charm on a bracelet? So pretty. So let's do another one together. I chose this lime because I had done, I'll show you my dish. I had done pumpkins, strawberries, oranges, lemons, grapes. I kind of made a little baby pineapple and then a giant pink pumpkin. So I decided I'm going to do a lime with you. So this is a beautiful check glass lime. It has the perfect shape of a lime. And so again, a small piece of that 24 gauge wire. I am going to put it through the hole, and this is almost like a briolette wrap, but I do mine a little differently most of the time. So I'm going to leave one end of the wire a little bit shorter and one end a little bit longer, and I'm going to pinch them together like that. And let me move some of these things out of the way, and I'm going to use my pliers to really bring them together to the center of the top of my lime bead. So it's going to look like that. And then basically I'm going to ignore this smaller, shorter wire, I meant to say, and I'm going to go through the steps of a normal wire wrapped loop. So let me get a hold of it and give that a 90-degree bend. Let me just straighten it out a little bit. And now just basically ignore that wire. I don't want it to be in the way of my loop. I'm going to put my round nose pliers in and just do a normal wire wrapped loop. I'm showing you that. I know it appears strange and like that wire is hanging out there for no good reason, but you'll see what we're going to do. So that's what I have, the beginning of a loop. And again, imagine this second wire was not there. And so I'm just going to grab that loop with my pliers, and I'm going to wrap this wire around the loop plus the wire that is hanging out. I'm just going to encase that second wire in my wraps. And I'm just going to fill in that space, go all the way down as far, till about where I pinch them together. And now if you can see what we have this wire that we can work with for a leaf, and we have this wire coming out of the top. And I'm actually going to move it now at this point, because this is where on each piece I will decide if it's going to be a curl or if it's going to be the wire that I add a leaf on, or you may decide that you like it the way it is and you trim it away, but you have those options. So let's choose, I did already. I chose this pretty little glass bead just because I wanted to show you how to, when a leaf bead is drilled this way, I just wanted to show you how to attach it to the top. So these are, as I said, a little bit more challenging because when I string it on my wire, I don't like it hanging down like that. So I have to come in and sort of bend it to where I want it to be. And that's where this 24 gauge wire is nice, because it does allow you the freedom of bending it, but you do have to be careful. I have broken this wire before when I was playing around with my wraps and things, because it is very fine. And if you stress it too much, you'll see that it's not happy and it will break. So I'm just going to bring that around until I have this leaf kind of where I want it. And I do like it tight, so being careful not to damage this wire. Let me get a hold of it and see if I can just do my best to do it. I want a nice clean wrap, but I do want to tighten that leaf. That looks really good. Now I have these two wires, so here's where you could add in another leaf if you wanted to, or do some curly cues. And I think because of the size of this bead, I think I'm going to create some curls on my lime. So let me get my bail making pliers, and same as before, I would go ahead and use the entire length of your wire, even if it appears to be long, because it's very easy to trim it away. And generally, I find that I really like the extra length. And then after my spiral is done, making like a little spring, I just come with my pliers and bend it and maneuver it to where I want it to be. And I think I will do one more. Let's see, I'm going to just pull that down a little bit. And this is where it's just your design decisions. I didn't like the way it was landing, so I'm going to come and just tighten that down a little bit. That looks better to me. So this is another one of those free form projects where I'm trying to give you step-by-step instructions, but I will often change my technique or change what I was doing based on each piece and the natural path of the wire, because sometimes when you're wrapping things that are supposed to look like they're in a tree, they are free form and it won't always go the same direction. So if I'm doing earrings, I will really pay attention so that I can make the two earrings the same. But I was doing these for demonstration purposes, and so I decided to add another curly Q. So we have our little lime. It's so cute. And again, if you decided that that was too busy for what your project is going to be, it's very easy to snip away one of the curly Qs and tuck the wire. Or, as I said, I could have added in another leaf to this, which I did that on the lemon. I was playing with the lemon and I did exactly that process, but then I decided to add in another leaf. So they're really cute. I really hope that this project was fun and maybe you picked up a new technique for yourself. And I really hope that you'll go in your stash and pull out some beads. If you have some fruit beads that have been hanging out and you haven't done anything with them, I hope this will inspire you to get some wire and beads and create. I really appreciate you watching today. And if you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing. It's totally free and it just tells YouTube that I'm doing well and you like what you're seeing, and it really helps my channel and helps my work. So please do that if you feel like you could. And the little bell notification that's under the video, if you tap that, you won't miss any of my upcoming videos. So again, thank you for watching today, and I will see you in the next video. Ciao, jewelry makers.